to the board kind of that reverse credit. So for example, if we wanted to do Math 95, which is actually a remedial course. So it's preventing our students from getting into the 100 level classes. What I would ask the board is to approve Math 95 as the student's third year course. In lieu of the third year course, which they have to take on engineering, which is Algebra 2, it is the most difficult course for our students to take. And it takes them a long time to get through that class. So we'd be looking for replacement of courses. Now we can't do away with certain graduation requirements, like our students still have to take American history, they still have to take economics, they still have to take civics. But where we have some leeway, like 4 years of English and 3 years of math outside of Algebra 1 and geometry, we would be looking for some substitutions.
These would be part of our curriculum, so it would be like
They're not part of the board transferring.
I'm thinking maybe further down the line for other students who want to pursue a career path, but they're limited now, where it seems like these kids are getting more of an opportunity.
Well, these students also, they don't have the same opportunities that students in the traditional high school do, because the engineering curriculum is only limited. We only have so many classes to offer. And so we're actually struggling right now to find classes for students to even complete their graduation requirements.
How many kids are in the program now in our Delta?
On average, we service right now about 100 students.
But now, so we're going to actually only say 90 now?
And again, that ebbs and flows, because some of the students have attendance issues, so they're not necessarily coming.
well, that includes credit recovery students, which we're taking.
Right, credit recovery would stay.
And we don't know how many that is?
Now that, on average, maybe 10.
In each building or total?
No, 10 in each building. Bremen actually has a higher credit recovery. I think they have, how many do you have in credit recovery?
I'd say about 15 right now. We had some just finished, so I'm sure.
Yeah.
What is the benchmark for when I have to go to credit recovery? So we don't end up with a junior with 0 credits.
Yeah, and that's where it takes kind of a team effort to make sure that we're monitoring students and identifying those. Because at the end of the day, too, Delta is not necessarily the fit for everybody.
Right.
We have some students that come to Delta that sitting on a program and computer all day long is not working for them. They're not motivated. So that's where we hope this blended curriculum is going to be that nice balance. So some students really struggle, and we end up sending them back to the traditional school to do something else. So it's hard to say kind of what that threshold is. We take everything on a case-by-case basis. We hope, and a lot of times students that end up with only 2 credits, a lot of times they're transferring in from other schools. So it's not that they've been with us and only earned 2 credits, they're coming to us with only 2 credits.
Who works on this plan and when?
Hopefully all the staff that's involved there, all would be part of it. So not just the mental health professional, but also the staff involved. So to be a paraprofessional is not leading the way, but guiding that student through those objectives. And a teacher and the student's going to be obviously a key part of that development of it. Hopefully we get some parent input as well.
Before the child starts the program, or?
Right. But you continually be evaluating that in one way. Because you might have a kid who might start with traditional Delta, meaning all ingenuity courses, and then they're seeing these other guys go in these classes, and they're like, okay, that's pretty cool. Maybe we can get them in to observe that class and sit in, and they maybe change their whole outlook on what they want to do.
So that's part of the OCS 121. So if that required class that all students have to take, the end product of that course is creating their success plan. And so we envision the teachers almost having a caseload, like, Mike kind of equates it to IEP and special ed staff. They're going to have a caseload of students that they're responsible to have conversations and monitor their success plan.
Who's going to have that?
The teacher of that classroom will have a caseload.
So they'll also be responsible for addressing attendance issues? How are the kids going to get there?
So again, if they have transportation, they can drive themselves and choose either the day or the night program. And if not, we will provide transportation. We're still working on the logistics of that. Originally, right now we have it in our plan that the students would come to their home school, and then we can have a district bus like we do now, picking up all the Delta students and taking them.
And then when they get to their home school, where are we going to corral them?
That's the part we're still ironing out.
Before
at the building.
they'll build.
Yes.
South Suburban Security dedicated to us, or they'll be wandering around?
Dedicated to the building.
So what happens if there's an issue? How do we say, hey, we need to know?
And we'll work with them to make sure that we have communication down to the police officer.
What's gonna stop a kid from, I'm using the restroom and they're gone for the rest of the day?
You know, what's this, I mean, students do it now. You know, they'll walk out the door on a break and not come back. So again, it's incumbent upon the teacher, and again, we're looking at the administrator for that program to contact parents, to let them know, you know, attendance is gonna be critical when they're coming back from lunch, coming back from
Yeah,
break.
here's a little different because they're actually off our property. They
Yes.
can go and be wherever.
Yeah.
I think the other critical piece is creating a privilege for the students. This is an opportunity that they have that we can remove from them if we're not respecting.
And then what, they come back to us?
Yep,
And how many administrators were you thinking?
one.
Just one?
Total, what we're dabbling right now, in our heads right now, is kind of part-time, splitting the day and night shift, but then we're kicking around a full-time administrator that's still. in
Somebody be
discussion.
there all the time?
Yes,
What happens if that person's sick?
we'll work on making sure there's something
If we don't have school for some reason, they're still expected to attend?
there. Yes, unless, so theirs, depends upon our schedule and their schedule. So like South Suburban, their spring break was last week. So right now, our jobs, 2 students didn't have school. But when we're on break, they'd actually be in school.
Our current students who attend there for classes at night follow the South Suburban night schedule.
Each home school's gonna have their own bus, or we're picking them up in a certain?
We'll do a district bus, once they're at their home school. And again, that's still in discussion.
What if South Suburban loses their accreditation for program?
I don't know, the only one that they've struggled with is CNA, it's the nursing program. Other than that, they kind of had.
I know previously they had.
Yeah, that's the only one really that we're looking at.
Different issues.
I can't hear you.
I think we were just discussing, I think maybe the accreditation is heavily on the academic transfer courses, and we're really heavily looking at the career development pathway courses. I'm thinking, just asking.
So there's some courses right now that students were getting credit for that they can transfer to other universities. Those are the ones that are getting more scrutinized. Psychology.
I know, like several years ago,
sociology.
they lost like the RADTech program.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that. I know the CNA was the most recent one that I remember.
It just doesn't become an option for students.
But, yeah, but
Yeah.
they're just scared because those kids that, if you've already been through that, then they lose it.
That can happen
It's a risk.
I agree.
Absolutely. And yeah, also keep in mind too, the certifications that we've chosen are part of an overarching degree. So students can continue on to get the degree portion. We're just pulling out pieces that, okay, if you stop here, this is the type of job you could have.
How about athletics and clubs? Are they able to participate in that? And I know there's an eligibility requirement for
Sure,
that
they have to
too.
be passing
So with the IHSA and meeting those requirements, how do we stack up with meeting those requirements for the state, for them to participate in athletics?
Yeah, and that's a great question. Well, right now, none of our Delta students can participate because they're going to school at night.
Yeah, good
So we don't have that
Okay.
issue right now. Kids that go during the day, that's something that they can certainly look at participating in. That's typically not the students that come to Delta. I'm not saying that they can't.
Sure, yeah.
But a lot of them are more working at home, you know, have health issues. They're there for a wide variety of issues. And again, we'll certainly afford them the opportunity,
Sure.
but our students right now don't.
Some of these students be students that were outplaced for behavioral issues?
Typically,
No?
I'm trying to think if we've had any students come back. Usually when it's up for discussion and placement purposes, you know, they look at all the factors, attendance, discipline, academics, and they decide which route is the best. Students that tend to go to Braun usually don't come. I'm trying to think if we've had any cases of kids coming back to Delta. Usually if it's a significant behavioral issue, they're going to Braun or some tech and trade. These students are more just academic division. Not saying that they're, you know, they don't have discipline issues, but they're not to the level that requires extra support.
Would you say we have more kids going to this program, like in their 11th and 12th year?
Are we looking at this for the 9th and 10th year so we can get them back into the traditional classroom experience?
So that's for the Delta Day, that's still gonna stay there, but that is for 9th and 10th graders that come to us either without grades in progress or transfer in
And that's at
November.
Hillcrest, right?
That's at Hillcrest, that's for all district students. We have about 30 students in that program right now. The goal is we want them back in the traditional setting. We don't want them necessarily in the Delta program. And I should mention that the same thing is true for this new program. If the student's goal is to get back into the traditional high school, we're going to help them do that. If that's not their goal, then we want to look at other avenues. We do find there's quite a few students every year from each of our campuses that make it back to the traditional school at the semester or at the end of the school year.
So the transfer kids or the kids that are 10-day late registration, how long do they typically spend that in the Delta program? Is it just one semester?
You know, it varies. We've had some students that make such great progress, they go back a quarter. So we mirror the classes that they would go into in their 9th or 10th grade. That's rare. You know, we've had, I can probably count 5 that have done that. More transfer into the semester, some end up staying the whole year. It totally depends. Again, student motivation, adjusting to that online curriculum. It's different.
But they're also in the Delta Day program allowed to participate in the other clubs and,
Yes.
and programs?
Yes, absolutely.
It's a very good presentation. It's
Yeah.
I'm very pleased to see.
Do we have any comments from public? We have Sandy Wessenstein comment regarding my dismissal.
Good evening, everybody. How are you tonight? Good to see you. I'm here due to line item 12, which is basically my termination. And I just wanted to say a few things prior to you making that decision, whatever that may be. I was hired because I have a proven track record of raising test scores by building a coherent, rigorous, successful curriculum with math teachers. I was hired because I have a proven track record of using best instructional strategies so that all students, whether they be our most talented mathematicians or our struggling learners, all have an opportunity to learn and be successful through reading, writing, problem solving, and thinking critically. I was hired because I have a proven track record of improving the culture and climate of not only my department, but an entire building by being visible, showing integrity, and building relationships with all stakeholders, students, teachers, food service, administrators, parents, secretaries, security, custodians, instructional assistants, counselors, deans, support staff, psychologists, social workers, etc., whoever may be interacting with me in the building. I was hired because I have a proven track record of building people up and helping them maximize their potential emotionally, socially, academically, and athletically, because I'm a child of Christ and I choose to live my life so that others can see His true grace and glory through my actions. I was hired because I have a proven track record of integrating technology into the math classes by researching, encouraging, training, and coaching, and providing feedback to teachers until they have the adequate skills and knowledge that they feel require them to be successful and move forward with that new technology. I was hired because I have a proven track record of providing successful professional development not only to teachers in my building, but at the local, district, and state levels for the last 18 years. I was hired because I have a proven track record of understanding how students and adults learn and how to lay the foundational structures and meet them where they're at so that we can take little steps or giant steps to progress their way and move them forward and be successful in our global society. I was hired because I have a proven track record of speaking up for those who do not feel they have a voice and asking others to look at situations from multiple perspectives before making a judgment call so that the best interest of all students is always first and foremost. I was hired because I have a proven track record of being creative, thinking outside the box, having a growth mindset, taking risks, offering multiple approaches, bringing a positive attitude and a smile to every situation, and most importantly, always doing what's best for students. When I left my tenured position to accept this position, I was ecstatic. I was tasked with the difficult job of changing the 228 math department, which had remained status quo and not really changed in decades, to take 4 very different school entities and differentiate my leadership to meet the needs of all 4 schools, which have different priorities. I was up for the challenge. I couldn't wait to see if I was as good a leader as everyone had told me that I was. Throughout my entire career, I had only been deemed excellent or proficient whenever I was evaluated and deemed a valuable asset and resource to every district and all stakeholders I encountered. While here, I built relationships. I let my light shine. I differentiated my leadership. I offered hope and passion to the teachers at Hillcrest High School, amongst others. I remained and kept a positive attitude. I compliment all stakeholders. I integrated technology. I offered feedback. I created curriculum. I presented a different viewpoint than most were used to. I supplied professional development on multiple occasions to encourage alternate approaches and strategies. I spoke up for those who didn't feel they had a voice, and most importantly, I smiled through the most difficult situations I had ever experienced professionally in my lifetime, being falsely accused of harassment twice, being bullied, and being ignored by others. But what hurts the most is that I feel like sometimes I'm the one administrator speaking up for Hillcrest High School, the students and staff who are most at risk, who deserve so much more than what they currently receive. As a school board member myself, I am sure that you have already made your decision about whether or not you want to renew my contract for next year. However, I hope you would consider one of the following scenarios prior to approving or making your decision. My best case scenario would be putting the students and the math teachers first and foremost and allowing me to come back for a year to lay a proper foundation for integrated math so that they can be successful. While you might have been told that this is an easy move, that it's just rearranging the standards, that's not true. Anyone can't do it. It's not just the standards in a different order. I can assure you that. When we researched this move, we determined that it wasn't just the curriculum, but it was the instruction that must drastically change, and that it would take a strong, passionate, knowledgeable, flexible, consistent leader to lead the department through this change successfully. My next best case scenario is, if you let me go, would you please consider looking at the evaluation that was given to me this year? Look at the artifacts and accept some of the artifacts that I have that directly contradict and disprove the concerns that are listed there. Please consider also speaking with the math teachers and the staff and students at Hillcrest High School to see what I really do and who I really am. If you deem the evaluation accurate, let me go, no problem. But if you see the same discrepancies as I and others clearly see, consider voiding that evaluation and letting me go with an honorable discharge, please. The worst case scenario, in my eyes, would be that neither of these options are available and you agree with the recommendations. If that's the case, then I would ask you to please consider how I went from an excellent teacher and leader for 18 years to being 1% above unsatisfactory, because I'm not really sure how that happened in 2 years' time. I respectfully thank you for your time and hope you will decide not to terminate me at my job tonight, but that you will look further into the situation and make an educated decision at the next meeting. However, if you must terminate me tonight, I thank you for your time, and I ask that you think of the staff and students at Hillcrest High School and District 228, and I hope that you will find a better math supervisor than I, one with better instructional strategies, more curriculum development expertise, extensive knowledge of creating and analyzing assessments, and most importantly, more passion, love, and patience for the students and staff at Hillcrest High School in District 228 than I could possibly have, and that's a lot. Thank you for your time.
Next item is the superintendent. Oh, I'm sorry. Carol Bucci wish to address the board.
Hi everybody, I'm Kara Bucci, math teacher at Hillcrest High School. I'm here to ask you to consider consider renewing our math department supervisor, Sandy Lesentine's position for next year. I come to you as a representative of the math department. As you know, we're moving into integrated math next year. We made a decision as a department that that would be the best pathway for our district. But curriculum alone doesn't make effective teaching and learning. And what we're in the process of doing with Sandy's facilitation is creating resources that teachers can use, collaborating with one another to share ideas. And that's really the most important piece of the puzzle. That's what's going to help teachers grow professionally. That's what's going to create change for our students. That's been Sandy's vision this whole time, and that's what we're in the midst of doing right now. It seems, and my concern is that if we lose her leadership right now, the rug's going to be pulled out from under us. Maybe teachers will be overwhelmed with new curriculum and not having enough resources to implement it effectively. I'm also here as a representative of Hillcrest High School. If you've walked through Hillcrest High School, I'm sure you have run into Sandy in the hallways. The students know and respect her, the staff members know and respect her. We have a vulnerable student population and consistency matters, and seeing an administrator's same face in the same hallway every day is important to our students. We also have staff that needs to be built up to deal with the challenges that we face every day, and Sandy does that for us. There have been so many times I've run into her office, Sandy, how do I get students to turn in homework? Sandy, does my standards-based grading make any sense? And every time I've left her office, I have left with a plan, and I have felt re-energized to go back into my classroom. And I know many of my colleagues have had that same experience, and that's what translates to our students. If I walk in overwhelmed, my students read that, and they feel the same way. When I walk in with a positive attitude and, hey, we've got this, that's infectious to my students. And that's the type of environment that Sandy has created for us at Hillcrest High School. With Sandy's support, it feels like we are moving in a positive direction. And we know that we need to make some significant changes in our building, and it feels like that's where we're going. So my hope is that you consider the positive change Sandy has brought to Hillcrest High School, to the students, to the staff, and that means enough to want to maintain it for the district. Like she said, Hillcrest matters, and she has been a huge positive impact for us, and I just hope that it means enough to our district to want to maintain that. Thank you.
Freedom of Information Act request since our last board meeting. Mr. Stephen Chichilli of Smart Procure requested purchase order information from November 9, 2017 to current. This request has been completed. Ms. Teresa Yu of CEIU Local 1 requested our food service contract. This request has been completed. Ms. Salima Griffin of Sheet Metal Works requested the name of the HVAC contractor that will be working on the Oak Forest High School Fieldhouse, and this request has been completed. Later in tonight's meeting, the board will be authorizing staffing for the 2018-2019 school year. The total staff is being reduced by 3.4 teachers. However, we are adding additional staff in the Student Support Services Department to address some imbalances in programming and services provided. This recommendation comes after hours of extensive and creative planning, as well as fiscally responsible and appropriate. I'd like to thank and congratulate all of our administrators for a job well done. Congratulations to our district lacrosse team. On March 15th, the team had its first home meet and beat Montini 10-6. Our two new boys volleyball teams are looking forward to starting their seasons. Bremen High School's team will hold its first match on March 22nd versus Chicago Christian. Tinley Park High School's team will hold its first match on April 4th versus Joliet Catholic. Best of luck to both teams. I want to publicly thank our students for making community service a personal choice in their lives. In recent weeks, they've raised nearly $20,000 for St. Baldrick's, volunteered their time and prepared food at the Ronald McDonald House, donated blood that would equate to 450 lives saved, filled 300 care packages for the homeless, became certified in CPR, and packed over 200 boxes for Feed My Starving Children organization. Once again, we're very proud of their efforts. Thank you.
Do any board members have anything to say?
You know, I just would like to make a couple short comments. I was able to attend the Tinley Park student, I don't even know what we're calling it these days, protest against gun violence. And Yeah, it was kind of moving, and I'm really glad that our administration took the stand as far as not consequencing these kids. And we've all heard throughout the newscast in our area that some school districts didn't take the same stand. And so I want to applaud our administration for letting our kids speak out and, you know, show their feelings of what's going on in our country today with gun violence. Personally, I'd like to thank Dr. Kendall, Dr. Nolan, Randy Cowenhoven, and many more people that made that a very big success. And not only them, our students, obviously. They came out and they said what they had to say, and it was very peaceful. It's a shame that it has to come to this in our country these days, but it is what it is, and we just have to move on and understand that. And we have to program for our kids to be as safe as they can. But I kept the distance. I was out there. I didn't want to cause any interference. And so just sitting back and observing and seeing Dr. Kendall and the other people I mentioned and the building staff, they just did a wonderful job. So I couldn't be at all of them, but I did, you know, online, the patch, they had a lot on Oak Forest and all that. And again, those kids look like they did a wonderful job, and the kids at Bremen and Hillcrest. So, you know, definitely, in my opinion, you know, it was wrong thing for the other districts to do, but I don't have anything to do with that. But again, I applaud the administration for taking the stand that they took. So.
Anyone else?
I just want to send out a congratulations to the Fine Arts Department on a wonderful music festival. I got the opportunity to listen to the bands and choir, and absolutely amazing performances and artwork that was being seen. So congratulations to anybody and everybody that had a part in the festival, along with the students. Couldn't be more impressed.
And just a thank you to the Ferrara family for their continued support of our district and providing scholarships to our fine arts students. It's wonderful to see that that continues to happen every year.
I also wanted to commend the students that participated in the walkout day. Especially being young adults, it's important that you start asserting your rights and doing it in an appropriate manner. I heard many instances where kids ran off and were vandalizing. No, not here. And it kind of takes away from the meaning of the whole thing, so I'm very proud of that. I also want to point out all these volunteer items that Dr. Kendall spoke about. We don't have a requirement. Our kids always go above and beyond. And then I just wanted to send a little message out to our best people. These rumors that you're hearing of changing schedules, nothing starting Monday, next Monday, 3 Mondays from now. This is not something the board is aware of. Ideas being floated around. Go to your supervisor, go to the supervisor above that, go to Mr. Masterson, go to Dr. Kendall. Open door on all this stuff. Don't go around making everybody else crazy, yourself crazy. There's no reason to add any more stress. You're a very important part of our organization, and no one wants to cause stress on you. That's all I have.
You know, if I could, one footnote, I'm sorry I forgot this, and one of the most important things that I know I witnessed on that day was our police force in Tinley Park was phenomenal. They really, I watched them, they had things totally under control, and I felt like our students were as safe as they could be, being outside of the building with 175th right there, you know, so they were really on top of it, and I just want to say thank you to them and all involved that day.
And the same with the other preschools as well.
Or they, yeah.
All of our police departments.
Yeah, it was awesome, yeah.
The important thing, remember, is, you know, see something, say something.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling a certain way, we have people to talk to, you know?
Yep.
Seek them out.
I did have just notations I would like to make. The Dreamers Club did a fantastic job at their presentation. I know that this is a very important organization to our students, and I'm glad to see that working together, the work that you all are doing to also include some of their dreams, their future aspirations and goals to make them very successful. All of the resources and everything that you're doing. So thank you for all your hard work in that. I would also like to thank our students for the peaceful demonstration and coming together in unity. I would like to announce the equity event that will be on April 28th. It is an opportunity for board members as well as superintendents to participate in the equity event. What, why, and how of equity issues in education. This event will be held April 28th from 9 to 3 p.m. at the Hyatt Regency Hotel in Lyle. This is a unique event for ISD board members, as before stated, and superintendents. Participants will have an opportunity to understand the various equity issues present in public education, including race, socioeconomic, gender, etc. Learn critical steps for developing and implementing an equity approach in school board work. Gain insight and practical applications from Illinois school districts actively working on equity issues. Been inspired by one man's personal journey of resilience, determination, and vision. Hear how Illinois school districts have prioritized equity programs. And just join us and hear the three fantastic speakers. Dr. Heather Hackman. She will be speaking on the urgency of now, developing and utilizing an equity lens for the 21st century education. Steve Pemberton. He was at the National Association of School Boards conference back in March of last year, and he spoke on, he was the CEO over Walgreens at one time. He was noted for his strides in cultural aspects. He will be speaking on One America, the microculture changes to bring the United States united back into USA. Also speaking, it will be Corey Wallace. It's 2018. Why are we still talking about race? Advanced registration is required. This is a free event. Registration has already opened and opened on February 1st. So please take advantage of this wonderful opportunity. And that's all I have.
Thank you. We'll move on to committee reports. Finance, Ms. Gleason.
Finance Committee met on Monday, March 12th at 7 p.m. in attendance for myself, Mrs. Ressler, Mrs. Jones, Mrs. Morrison, and Dr. Kendall. Under new business, the Finance Committee reviewed the March bills, interest, expenditures, and deposits. Information regarding the state wrestling athletic competition expenditures and the Country Club Hills Tech and Trade invoice was requested. The Superintendent and the Finance Committee are recommending full board approval of the March bills as presented. The Career Development System bills in totaling $139,328.85 were reviewed. The Superintendent and the Finance Committee are recommending the CDS bills for full board approval. The Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the audit engagement agreement for Matheson, Moisky, Austin and Company for the June 30th, 2018 audit. Matheson, Moisky and Austin has provided the district quality service at a reasonable cost for the past 6 years. The company has agreed to honor the fiscal year 17 rate of $20,700 for the 2018 audit. If the district agrees to extend the term of the engagement for an additional 3 years through June 30th of 2020. The fiscal year 19 and 20 increase would be limited to the lesser of the CPI or 2%. Superintendent, along with the Finance Committee, recommend full board approval of the audit engagement agreement with Matheson, Moisky, and Austin. Finance Committee reviewed and discussed the conference request for Mrs. Jones to attend the Leadership Academy Symposium in Naperville, Illinois on June 9th, 2018. Finance Committee is recommending full board approval of the conference request for Mrs. Jones on June 9th. The next finance meeting is scheduled for Monday, April 9th at 7 p.m. at the Administration Center, and the meeting adjourned at 7:10.
Thank you. Teaching and learning, Mr. Johnson?
Teaching and learning at Tuesday, March 13th at 6:30. Present was myself, Mrs. Gleason, Dr. Williams, absent was Mr. Canny. Guest was Renee Mag, Mr. Mike Boniface, and Mr. Kevin Donahue. Comments from the public was none, old business none. New business, new alternative education proposal. The committee engaged in a presentation about the change the district would like to make to the existing Delta Academy program. The new program will be housed at Oak Forest campus of South Suburban College, so that the students can explore career pathways, begin a career certification on degree, take general education course while completing their high school diploma. The new program will also provide an opportunity for special education students to return from out of the district placement and engage in the project-based curriculum. Lastly, we propose calls for the additional of 9th period credit recovery in each of our 4 high schools for students needing to recover 1 or 2 credits. Proposal will be presented to the full board for board approval. Textbook adoption. Dr. Williams presented new textbooks and supplemental materials such as online simulations to the committee for review. These materials will support the curriculum changes made in the introduction to English, integrative physics and honor physics, first AP world history and DECA. All of these resources will be on display at the administrative center for about the next 30 days, and it will be presented to the full board on April 17th. The Summer Academy budget. We reviewed the budget for its annual Summer Academy programs, all 4 high schools. These programs include an extended school year for our students in Excel, Summer Academy, and the AP Create AP Academy. These budgets will be brought to the full board for approval. Announcement: the next meeting will be held on Tuesday, April 10th at 6:30 at the Ed Center. The meeting was adjourned at 7:40 p.m.
Thank you. Personnel, Ms. Russell?
Thank you. Personnel met and a meeting was called to order at 6:30 p.m. Present were myself, Mrs. Campworth, Mrs. Stearns, and Dr. Kendall. For new business, Dr. Kendall presented the following certificated staff recommendations for discussion. Bremen, the acceptance of the resignation of the SLC coordinator. At Tinley Park, there were none. Hillcrest, the approval of the medical leave request for a business teacher. At Oak Forest, the acceptance of the resignation of a science teacher. For the district, there were none. After review of all certificated staff items, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. Dr. Kendall presented the following educational support personnel recommendations for discussion. Bremen, the approval of the maternity leave request of a special education aide and the employment of a 3rd shift lead custodian. At Tinley Park, there were none. Hillcrest, the acceptance of the resignation of a special education aide. At Oak Forest, the approval of the retirement request of a special education aide. After review of all support staff items, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. Dr. Kendall presented the following additional employment positions for recommendation. Bremen, a full-time social worker, psychologist. Tinley Park, full-time social worker, psychologist. Hillcrest, half-time counselor and full-time dean of students. Oak Forest, half-time counselor. After review of all additional employment positions, the committee agreed to make a recommendation to the full board for approval. The next personnel meeting is scheduled for April 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Administration Center, and our meeting was adjourned at 6:45 p.m.
New business, Ms. Morrison?
Item 10.1 pertains to the bills, addendum to bills, payroll, and CDS bills. The superintendent, along with the finance committee, is recommending these items for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Mr. Johnson. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones? Mrs. Graham?
Aye.
Mrs. Kenworth? Aye. Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.2 pertains to the audit engagement agreement. Mathewson, Moisky, Austin & Co. has provided the district quality service at a reasonable cost for the past 6 years. They have also agreed to honor the FY17 rate of $20,700 for this upcoming 2018 audit, pending extension of the term of our engagement through June 30th, 2020. The audit fee increase for the next 2 fiscal years would be limited to the lesser of CPI or 2%. The superintendent, along with the finance committee, is recommending the proposed audit engagement agreement for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Russell, second by Ms. Kimbrough. Any discussion?
Mrs. Wrestler?
Aye.
Mrs. Kenworth? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Item 10.3 pertains to the board member travel request of Mrs. Leslie Jones for the Leadership Academy Symposium in Naperville, Illinois on June 9th, 2018. Estimated expenses are approximately $284. Finance Committee is recommending full board approval of Ms. Jones' conference request for June 9th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Ms. Ressler. Any discussion?
Could you explain a little bit more? Did she touch on base? Oh, I'm sorry, I should be talking to Leslie. Leslie?
Yes.
Hi, this is Larry. I just have a question.
Sure.
What are you looking to gain from the conference there in Naperville?
Sure, I'll be glad to explain.
In a
The conference, this leadership conference is a invitation only. It is for the vision, to express the visions, values, conflicts, and decisions, the public purpose of public schools. It is going, during this conference, I look forward to finding out what it drives our common purpose in educating the children, and at the same time, what divides us so strongly about how to educate them. There is going to be a speaker, Phil Boyle. He's the author of Preserving the Public in Public Schools. He will address the complex choices surrounding public education today. So he is the expert in this, and he's going to address those needs that we have, and I look forward to some cutting-edge discussions. And we'll also discuss how often conflicting visions and values drive the decisions of school boards, and examine why those decisions are crucial to making democracy work. So he's going to address some of the upcoming challenges that we can look for, whether we might potentially face in public education, as well as help the building stones of education. So I think that this is a very valuable conference. It only happens every other year, so this is not an every year occurrence. And so it's a once in every other year opportunity to develop. And I hope to bring back that information to the board and share that information so that we can all grow and develop as a school board and as a school district.
Are there administration involved in this? Are they invited to this symposium?
It is by invitation only for Leadership Academy members and superintendents.
Goes by how many points from going to the.
Does that answer the question that you just asked?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's only by invitation, and so just the ones that they, the members that they ask for and the superintendents.
Is it an all-day event?
It is basically all day. It is from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Will you have a hotel room there?
I do not have a hotel room placed on that. It will be helpful, but being that I have to go all the way out to Naperville and at the all-day event that morning, so I know traffic is a bit congested at that time, but I'll try to make it out.
Cost is
So that would
the
be helpful.
attendance, mileage, and the meal stipend.
I think the hotel is only like maybe
The hotel's not
like, it's not placed on the agenda, but
Is she gonna be there?
a request.
So Leslie, this is Christine. What time do you plan on leaving to get there on time?
First thing in the morning, hopefully by, I'm not sure about, maybe, I would have to probably get out by no later than 8 o'clock in the morning.
What, 9 o'clock?
Well, actually, because of traffic, I might have to get out a little earlier, so it might be a little challenging, but I'll get out hopefully before 8 o'clock. Because according to my understanding, it could be like an hour's worth of traffic. I'm not sure, I'm not certain. I don't drive that way every day, but I do understand that there could be some traffic issues.
Yeah.
So if you can keep that in consideration, I know that hotel's not on there, but, you know, if it helps me to get there and we already be there for the conference.
Thank you, Leslie.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we're voting on this now? So have we moved it?
Yes.
Lisa Russell.
Oh,
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
minus a hotel room, I'm definitely okay with it. And this one, it's local. It doesn't really burden the district as far as finances, a couple $100.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Campworth? Mrs. Stern?
Aye. Dr. Williams.
Thank you. Item 10.4 are the summer academy budgets. We're going to continue running our summer academies, extend the school year for our special education students and our AP programs. The Teaching and Learning Committee, along with the superintendent, are recommending the summer academy proposals for full board approval.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Canning. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Campworth? Aye. Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Item 10.5 is the alternative education program. We had a copy of the full proposal for the new program to be located at the Oak Forest campus of South Suburban College. The Teaching and Learning Committee, along with the superintendent, are recommending the new program for full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Johnson, second by Ms. Gleason. Any discussion?
Yeah, since my days of survey of industrial arts here in 228, I am very encouraged and motivated on this.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Campworth? Aye. Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mrs. Stern?
Aye.
Item 10.6 is the 2018-2019 IHSA membership for all 4 high schools. It should be noted that there's no charge for this membership, and I'm recommending full board approval.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Gleason, second by Ms. Campworth. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Gleason, aye. Mrs. Campworth? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones?
Aye.
Mrs. Ressler?
Aye.
Mrs. Stern?
Aye. At this time, I'm going to open the floor for public hearing regarding staffing. During the section and staffing process for the 2018-2019 During the section and staffing process for the 2018-2019 school year, it was determined that a reduction in force be necessary in 2 teaching positions. an English position and a French position. Any comments? No comments? I'll close the floor. To the public hearing on staffing.
Ms. Gleason, if you would please read the staffing resolution and the notices of non-renewal.
Resolution authorizing reemployment of certificated staff for the 2018-2019 school term, plus dismissal notices, resignations, and retirements. Whereas this Board of Education has received recommendations from members of the administration concerning the number of teachers and educational support personnel needed to be employed in the school district for the 2018-2019 school term. And whereas this Board of Education has received recommendations from members of the administration concerning the subject area needs and corresponding teaching positions of this district for the 2018-2019 school term. Now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education, Bremen Community High School District 228, Cook County, Illinois, as follows. That the following staff on contractual continued service shall be reemployed for the 2018-2019 school year. Jamila Abedizan Mason through Michelle Youngblood. Section 2, that the following first-year probationary teachers shall be reemployed for the 2018-2019 school term and placed on second-year probationary status. Ariana Anaya through Tyrone Wheeler. That the following second-year probationary teachers be reemployed for the 2018-2019 school term and placed on third-year probationary status. Greg Potika through Gus Yayakos. That the following third-year probationary teachers be reemployed for the 2018-2019 school term and placed on fourth-year probationary status. Michael Blakely through Cara Williams. That the following fourth-year probationary teachers be reemployed and placed on tenure for the 2018-2019 school term. Robert Bohanchik through Rachel Wennick. Section 6, that tenured teachers as listed be honorably dismissed effective at the end of the 2017-2018 school term for the following reasons. Declining enrollment, teachers returning from leaves, and fluctuation in subject area needs. None. Section 7, that the following fourth-year probationary teachers hereby be dismissed at the end of the 2017-2018 school term to a decision of this Board of Education to discontinue particular types of teaching services or for reasons included in notices approved by the Board of Education. None. Section 8, that the following third-year probationary teachers staff hereby be dismissed at the end of the 27-2018 school term. None. Section 9, that the following second-year probationary teachers hereby be dismissed at the end of the 2017-2018 school term. None. Section 10, that the following first-year probationary teachers are dismissed at the end of the 2017-2018 school term. Darcy Walker, Suzanne Lapp. Section 11, that the following part-time and long-term substitute teachers are dismissed at the end of the 2017-2018 school term, where the effective date is outlined in their individual employment agreements. Emily Amoni through Tremaine Weaver. Section 12, that the following resignations, retirements, or leaves be accepted on the effective dates as listed. Donna Jimenez, Neil Zolnick. Section 13, that the President of the Board of Education is directed to sign all required letters of dismissal notice and cause the school district administration to send such notices to each person requiring the same by certified mail and personal delivery. Section 14, that this resolution shall be in full force and effective upon its adoption.
I move to approve the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Stern, second by Ms. Gleason. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Stearns?
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason? Aye. Mr. Canning?
Aye.
Mr. Johnson?
Aye.
Mrs. Jones? Mrs. Jones?
Okay, aye.
Mrs. Campworth? Mrs. Wrestler.
Aye.
Dr. Carnes?
10.8 is personnel. Under resignations, Neil Zolik, Andrew Martin, Megan Whitting, and Ryan Keane. Under retirement, Valerie Snyder. Under leaves, Darlene Levy-Jackson, Caitlin McAuliffe-Casda. Under employment, Kyron Weaver, Victor Lee, and Tiffany Taylor. And under change in position, Bill Stearns. The Board Personnel Committee met on March 12th. They reviewed the many certificated and support staff agenda items, and these are now being recommended to the full board for approval.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Ms. Russell, second by Ms. Campbell. Any discussion? No discussion.
Mrs. Wrestler.
Aye.
Mrs. Campworth.
Aye.
Mr. Canning. Mr. Johnson. Mrs. Gleason. Aye. Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mrs. Jones.
Aye.
Mrs. Stearns.
Abstain. At this time, I'm looking for a motion to move to closed session to consider information regarding the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees.
So,
Second.
Moved by Ms. Jones, second by Ms. Wrestler.
Mrs. Jones.
aye.
Mrs. Wrestler.
Aye.
Mr. Canning.
Aye.
Mrs. Gleason. Aye. Mr. Johnson.
Aye.
Mrs. Campworth. Aye. Mrs. Stearns.
Aye.